a fairy tale starts with once upon a time, and a sea story with this ain't no shit. I was at my grandparents' home the night or the day they got electricity.
Oh, wow.
And I can remember going there when they just had oil lamps and a privy, a two-seater behind the house, and a pit well, which was just it's just a hole dug in the ground with a frame built over the top with a uh, pulley and a bucket with a rope. And I can remember being a little boy trying to pull that 1 gallon of water up to the top. My cousins would help me.
Yeah.
Uh, if you took a bath, you had to bring about 10 of those buckets inside and put them in a wash tub and sit in a wash tub and bathe. It was pretty primitive. And then they got electricity, but my grandmother never owned a home that had running water,
Wow. All from the well.
all from the well.
Wow.
And it was brings back some real fond memories from their home in the Kill, and that was where I became an Ole Miss Rebel football fan.
I
And
don't know if I even want to hear this one.
I think this was 1952, and the way you can check that year is that the University of Maryland had something like a 23 or 30 game winning streak and had been national champions a couple of years. And they went to Oxford, Mississippi to play the Ole Miss Rebels, and the Rebs just took them to the cleaners, just
Hmm.
wiped them out. And we had a cousin playing up there. His name was Gene Dubison, and he was from Pascagoula, and his mother was my daddy's first cousin. Well, they didn't have electricity, but my grandfather had a large piece of furniture that was a radio, and it ran off a battery, a big battery. My daddy, my grandfather, my papa, and myself sat on the front porch of their home and listened to the Rebels play
Hmm.
the Maryland Tarpons. And after that game, I had a pee wee football, and there was a field beside the house where they raised sugar cane. And now the sugar cane was raised to get the sugar out of it so that they could make whiskey with it.
Huh.
And it had been burned, plowed and burned. It was just stubs out there and the rows. And I took that football and I went out and replayed that game where I was the quarterback, the receiver, the running back, the tackler. I was every position in my little imaginative 10-year-old brain. I
Right.
replayed that game and I became an Ole Miss Rebel, and I'll be one till the day y'all pull the cover over my head. It was quite a good place to visit because there was a creek nearby, and they had a old horse and a wagon, and we'd all jump in there. And I can remember Tommy was just a little boy,
Yeah.
and so was I. This is like when we were 4, 5, 6 years old, and we would ride the all of us with my cousins the wagon down to the creek, and there was one little hole about the size of this porch that had water about 4 feet deep, and we could swim in. The rest was just
Right.
inches deep, and they made life jackets for Tommy and me by tying two syrup cans together with a rope with string, and they'd run it under our arms, and it was like floaties on our
Yeah.
back. Those were our life jackets.
Uh,
Bad thing that happened out there one time, and as I said, they had this horse, and this horse did everything. He pulled a wagon, pulled a plow, and give them a ride to Kill, which was
right.
about 5 miles away. And my grandparents put barbed wire, a single strand of barbed wire from the back of the house to their fence on one side and the same on the other side to keep the horse in the backyard to keep it from going in the front yard and eating my grandmother's flower. And Tommy and I were playing and we were running around the house and we went around this front and down the side and there was the fence and I stopped and I ducked under it and I picked the fence up just as Tommy started around the front from the front, and I put it down and said, "Tommy, watch this fence." And I took off running, and when I turned around, Tommy was parallel in the air, and his face was caught on it. You can still see the scars on Tommy's face now. And there was there were no cars there, so there was no way. All the men were gone. There was no way to get Tommy to the doctor or the hospital or any place where he could get stitches. And he had to stay in this condition for about 8 hours before someone came home and take him to the doctor. Now, today, if Tommy tells you he got in a knife fight or something like that, I've just busted him.
Yeah.
But it was, I can still remember that. And I still have a guilt complex because it was Tommy and not me, because I was his big brother and I was supposed to take care of him.
How old were y'all?
I'm going to say 5 or 6 years old.
Wow, you can remember when you were 5 or 6.
So if I tell you it's a no shitter, it means it's a true story. And if you want to believe the stories, that's okay. If you don't, won't offend me at all.